Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. We're going to do something a bit different today, not as far as the actual work is concerned, but I'm doing something different with a type of plant that under normal circumstances I wouldn't have dreamt of doing, quite honestly. But I'm going via what's happening with INSA's version of these plants, and his are doing an awful lot better than mine. And I'm going to do a bit of an experiment along the way, so not just copying. The problem that I've got is that we're working on Restrepias. Now, these are high humidity, these are cloud forest dwellers, so these are high humidity, constantly wet type orchids. And the thing is, when we say constantly wet and cloud forest in the same breath, what we mean is the plants are constantly wet. Whereas it's interpreted in most growers' minds, including mine at times, that we mean that the pot needs to be constantly wet. That's not the same thing. A cloud forest environment is constantly damp and wet. Everything, all the plants, the debris, you know, the branches, the moss, there's just this constant moisture everywhere. And these plants live in that environment and they do very well at it. Now, INSA's environment is closer to that. He's got an enclosed space where his humidity stays quite high. I can't do that. But what's happening with my Restrepias is slowly but surely, out of the corner of my eye, they're going downhill. So I've picked on 3 for different reasons, and we're going to mount them. But we're doing different things. It's not all the same. No, I've said that at the beginning, so those who aren't interested in watching me playing around mounting orchids can clear off now. Or you can watch out of interest and see what I'm up to. But yes, that's what we're doing. I've got 3 Restrepias out here, and they're all here for one reason in common. They were all last potted in March 24. They've been in their pots well over a year and a half, and given that they stay moist quite a long time, the chances are the media is breaking down, and there's moss in the media, so yeah. But they're all here for a different reason. Now, the first one is one of Hannah's little ones. You can see the moss is actually in the pot. It's not doing very well, but it has got some new leaves. It's also got some old dying leaves, and it's lost some leaves recently, but it's not doing very well. Having recovered it from when Hannah was in hospital and it was virtually dead when I got it, it had no roots at all. It took 2 years before it even started to grow roots. This has had a very hard road to recovery, very hard indeed. But it's Ephipium with an A on the end, which probably means it's one of Burnham's own. And when they registered it, see, that might not even be its registered name. The A may be something that Burnham's added on for their own records, but that's what was on the label when it was got. When Hannah actually bought it, she decided she'd give them a try. Right, so this one now. Restrepias have fibrous roots. They're like hairs. Something moved. Or whatever it was, I can't see it now. I shall keep my eye open. But you can see there is some moss in this bark and there's some perlite. That was a mix I used. Sorry, that movement. There's another one. There are tiny little bugs in this media. I won't be able to show you, these are minute. These are like pinpoint size. So I don't know what they are. At that size I can't imagine they're doing any harm, but I also don't know what they are. Now, with Restrepia roots, what you've got is they're like hair. They're very fine. A very fresh root will be white. As they age, they turn a browny colour, and a lot of that is probably staining from the media, but nonetheless that's what happens. But also dead roots go brown. So it's difficult to tell whether you've got old faded tired roots or dead roots, but on this plant there are enough pale coloured roots to actually say there are some viable roots. But there's a large cluster here that look like dead ones. They're just pulling off incredibly easily, so and the thing is, this is going on a mount. I need it to go flat. So these ones in the centre that appear to be, they'll be the oldest roots in the centre. The ones around the outside will be the fresher roots. So I'm happy with that. But what I am going to do is get rid of all the old stalks, you know, where leaves have died off the top and it just leaves a stalk, which makes it look in a mess. Makes it look messy. So I'm just going to try and carefully take those off. There are quite a few, especially, well, where you'd expect in the middle of the plant, the old bit. Quite a little set in there. This is just nothing more than cosmetic. This is not going to do the plant any good, or any harm for that matter, apart from just clear it out a bit, make some room. This is where these fine point scissors really come into their own. Because in amongst these decent shoots with leaves on, I can precisely pick out the one I want to cut and nothing else with the very fine points. They are worth getting. They do cost a little bit. If you're interested, they are bonsai pruning shears, bonsai scissors, stainless steel. They are capable of being sharpened, and they are incredibly sharp when you get them, and they stay sharp a very long time. Right, let's clean that little plant up. So that looks infinitely better straight away. I'm wondering whether this part of the plant doesn't look very good, but then it has got a shoot with a new leaf on. Now I think I'm going to take, the trouble is it's also got some reasonable roots. No, we'll leave it as it is, we'll leave it intact. Right, so that's number one. We must keep these with their labels. Right, so that's one. So that's that one. That's being done as it was a plant that's going downhill a little bit. It's not dying or anything, but there are two of these little plants from Hannah that recovered, both in the same boat. The other one's not too bad, and this one's not as good, so that's why I've picked on that one. So that's going on a mount. Let's see what we do. Now this one, I've had the longest. This is, it says on the label it's Falkenbergii, but it's not. It was misnamed by Burnham's, and I got it corrected by a Restrepia expert, effectively, whilst walking around Burnham's looking at them. She said, oh, that's not Falkenbergii, that will be so-and-so. And they are virtually identical. The difference is actually the plant size. One grows taller and more upright than the other one. Now, this one's got blooms on, tough. But what I'm going to do with this one doesn't even involve taking, well, I will take it out of the pot, but that's not what I'm going to do with this one. Well, this is in two pots, I wonder why. Can't for the life of me imagine how or why that happened, but it did. So we can call this one two pots. Now this is, as I said, labelled Falkenbergii, but that's not what it is. And this plant is very bad. In fact, although I've said I'll take it out of the pot, look, the plant is virtually dead. And that's why I've picked on this one, because first of all the plant's going over, but what we have are these. These are the shoots that have grown kikis. Now if I take one off and show you, you've got the blooms and old buds coming out from the base of the leaf. You've got a new shoot with a leaf on that's not getting enough hydration, and another one down here, and some roots. It's a little plant. Now unfortunately, for this to have the best start in life, the tidying up that I will do is to basically, unfortunately, cut the buds and the old stringy bits from previous blooms off. Now what we've got is a little plant with new roots. We need something to put it in where we don't lose it as well, along with its label. Now I'm going to go around the plant and do the same thing all round. I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to pick on the good ones. This again is another good one. Get the sheaths out of the way so that the roots will have access. Lovely little roots on the base of that. Straggly bits. New growth just starting here. Yeah? And the leaf here that's new, hasn't even opened properly yet. I've just opened it with my fingers. So again, it's a nice little plant with roots, and hopefully that has actually got 1, 2, 3 new leaves on it, and one that hasn't long been open. It's a nice little plant. That's 2. That's another good one. And these are ideally suited to go on a mount with fresh roots growing. I mean, it's sad to take the blooms off. They'll come again. This is one of those that blooms on and off throughout the year. It doesn't have a blooming season. It blooms when it feels like it. And every now and again it has quite a few all at once, which is nice. Right, again, another nice little plant. It's got a new leaf there just opening, and another one here that hasn't long been opened. That's 3. That's another nice little one. Most of these shoots are going to come off. They will be, they will get planted on the mount. I shall just bundle them all up together, stick them in some moss on the mount, and cross my fingers and everything else, and just hope they take off. That's another one. No, that one's not very good. It's the new growth is damaged. What about this one? That's not too bad. We'll have that one. Sheath off to expose the roots and straggly bits, and that bloom, which will become a straggly bit if I leave it. So there's another one. Got quite a little pot full now. How much more of what's left? I'm not having that one. This one's got 2 new growths on and one that's not long opened, so that's a good one. We'll have that one. Straggly bits. God, these are fiddly. Wouldn't want to do this after a glass of wine. But as it's still AM, we won't be going anywhere near that stuff for a bit, if at all, today. It's a fish day today. We're having fish for tea, so I probably won't bother with any wine. Right, there's another nice little one. New leaf just opening there. Another one coming on behind, and this leaf here has got its kiki just starting to grow. So we're doing okay. That's only got 1 leaf, not worth bothering. Given the others, that's the one we're not going to bother with. And what I've got down here in the plant is a new growth but I don't think I'm going to be able to find the base of it to actually bother. So that'll do. So that's that one. Totally different reason to the other one, and a totally different methodology, because all we've done is taken the kikis off and discarded the main plant. So that's that one, and then the last one may already be dead. And this is Howley-Say. It's one of the ones that I had from the Eric Young Foundation. I had two different plants that were virtually identical from Eric Young, and because they were virtually identical, one of them went to somebody else. Yeah, the way that just came out of the pot, I don't think we're going to be able to save this somehow. There's not a sign of any new growth on it, although there is there. That is a new leaf. So is that. It's far from a happy plant, and there's virtually no new roots here. Trying to get this to grow is not going to be easy, and it may be a total failure. But there's large parts of this plant that I'm going to cut off because there is no new growth on it. So the plant itself is going to get discarded at the base. That will make it easier to mount as well. So the bits of the plant that are coming off have got no leaves on. They've just got dead shoots that have been cut off previously. And that's leaving a tidier plant. Quite a lot of leafless shoots, which again I'll trim off. Whether I can save this one or not, I don't know. Possibly not, but we'll give it a go. So there's another section of the plant that's just got dead bits and no active growths. Right, so that's what we're left with. We're left with a stump, basically. That's about the best way to describe that. There are no new roots. And whether I can get that to grow or not remains to be seen. But this has large blooms. It's an Eric Young hybrid. It has very large blooms and they are smashing. If I remember, I'll put a picture up. Right, so those are our three plants. They're all going on the mount. That one is probably not going to grow, but we'll give it a chance. The kikis are not far enough advanced to take them off. They're in that sort of state, like that. So I've got my screen at the wrong angle. So there's a new leaf coming, but there's no roots to support that kiki yet. There's another one over here that's got a new leaf coming, but they're not far enough advanced. So I'm going to mount it and see what happens. The base of the plant might be able to produce some new roots. It might. I mean, there's life in the plant in as much as, there are some kikis starting to move, but whether it can get some new roots out from the base remains to be seen. So that's that one with its tag. Right, so I shall have a clean up, find some suitable mounts, get my mounting gear out, and then we'll whack these three. So the noise is effectively the roof is absolutely covered in wet oak leaves, and there's a bit of a breeze blowing up and it keeps moving them all around. It's actually quite noisy, believe it or not. Everywhere is covered in oak leaves at the moment. That tree is an absolute menace. I hate it. It provides some shade in the real heat waves that is appreciated, and that's its only usefulness, quite honestly. The rest of the time it's just a nuisance. Right, so we will have a clear up, sort some mounts out, get them sterilised, get my mounting gear, and I'll be back. Okay, I've sorted out some mounts. I've got some moss in to soak, I've got my thinnest wire. there's no strength or sturdiness or anything involved with these plants. They just need to be, well, the wire's really to hold the moss in place. The plant will stay there on its own probably with a couple of turns of wire. I've got my wire cutters for snipping bits off the end, and I have my pliers in case I need them, but I probably won't. Now what I thought we'd do is we get the worst one out of the way first, the one that's probably not going to live. And the fact that it's only got a tiny little base to the plant with no roots, it can go on the smallest mount. And there's a crevice in the moss. I'm just going to tuck that in there, sort of like that. I will put some moss underneath it, because obviously if we do get new roots they're going to have something to grow into. I won't be able to put much over the top simply because there's no roots to sort of cover. So we'll tuck some in that crevice so that the plant is sitting on some moss. Don't go mad. And then we'll put that on top of it at an angle so that when the wire wraps round, and then we'll put some round the edges which the wire will hold in place. But it's not going to do that at the moment because it's all going to fall off when I let go. And I will put some more wire, some more moss around the edge when I've actually got a piece of wire in my hand and I can hold it in place. So we'll get a decent length of this off. So although the piece of bark's not that big, I'm probably going to want to go round a few times to hold everything in place. And I've got plenty of this. So the thing is, when I buy the bonsai wire, it's sold by weight and size, not length. So if you buy the finest one at 100 grams, you get miles of it. If you buy 3 mil at 100 grams, you don't get that much, because it's the weight, not the length. Right, so I'm going to put the moss back on once I've got my first turn of wire on. I'm going to go over the top of the plant, stick a bit round the back for bending and grabbing hold of a bit later, and one turn is going to hold the plant. So that's got the plant. Now everything else is going to be holding moss in place. So we'll put that back there, we'll put that there. As I said, I don't want this buried, so I'm not even sure it's even going to grow. And then we'll put a bit round the back there. There's just a little bit there with no moss at all, so we'll put some there as well. Now all I've got to do is wind the wire around enough times to hold all that moss in place. So we'll come round there, and another one round the bottom. That's got all that section done. And then we'll come round the top here and pick up all that moss that's round the top of the plant. And I've got enough to go round once more, which if we come round the side here, we can also go over a bit of the plant, give it a bit of extra support in between those leaves. Right, that is everything held. That's all I need to do. Come back round here. The first bit that I bent round there is for twisting against this bit, like so. And then the wire cutter to snip the tatty ends off so we don't poke our eye out in the future. Cut those bits off. Bend that end down because it's a sharp point. Tuck all these bits into the curve, that pulls them nice and tight, and then with any luck we can put that on there, and that's plant number 1 done. You can go on there for now. Right, so that's number 1. Now we need to let the fluffy alarm clock out the door, as usual. Come on then. Right, so that's 1 done. Now the next, I'm leaving the awkward one till last. The awkward one is the lots of little pieces, because that's going to go on the bigger mount. That's going to take a lot of wire to hold all the pieces on. So the next one is Hannah's little one. This is the one that's got live roots. This is the one that should be a success. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. So we've got our piece of bark, and we've now got lots of roots to worry about. So we will put some moss underneath. The roots are going to get sandwiched effectively, so we'll put some moss underneath, and some of the roots will go through that moss and attach to the bark, but in the meantime they will be nicely hydrated. And then the same as I did before, I'm going to get a long length of wire this time. There's going to be a lot of moss to hold on here. And several turns over the top of the plant as well. Make sure the plant is nice and secure. But we'll have it's still not a big piece of bark, so we don't need thousands of turns, but we'll have quite a few. Right, let's grab our plant. Just trying to see which way it looks nicest, about there I think. We'll sit it on top of that moss. We'll put the wire through the middle of the plant, over the edge, and a bit for twisting later, as before. The methodology stays the same. That's got the plant, that half turn has got the plant. So what we're doing now is sorting the moss out. And if we want to sort the moss out, we need to get some on there, don't we? So I don't know whether you notice, I always squeeze the moss before I use it. It's too wet. The amount of water it actually holds, you know, is ridiculous. And I don't want to be working with dripping moss, so I always give it a squeeze and just sort of dry it off. And then I'm looking at what I'm doing to make sure we're covering virtually all the roots. Now with some plants, like a dendrobium, I might not worry so much about some bare roots hanging out the side, but I'm not sure, given the environment a Restrepia comes from, that there would be dry roots. There might be aerial roots, but because the atmosphere it grows in is so wet, being a cloud forest, those roots wouldn't be dry. So unlike a mount in my environment, where roots are hanging out the side, they would dry out and then they would probably die. Right, let's get our moss in place. Now all we've got to do is wrap the wire around enough times to hold it all, and hope we've got enough. So across there. One more, we'll do the bottom section, tuck it in as I go. Now we come back round this side here and go across the top of the plant. But I don't want to garrot anything, so I've got to tease the wire in between the shoots so that we've grabbed the bottom part of the plant. That's good, and that also grabs the two sides of the moss. Now we go round somewhere about there to grab that bit of moss, lift that leaf up out the way. There we go. Now we need one round the top to hold the top moss in place, like that. Yep, that's got everything. And then back round to our bit that we started with for twisting. Just twist the two ends together like that. And go snip the ends off. Tuck that bit down, push these bits in into the curve, pulls it nice and tight. A couple of straggly bits of moss, pull them off. And then we should have the label. There it is. What I'm going to do with the label is tuck it down in there so that it doesn't waggle around. It's tucked in now. You can still read it. Right, so that's another one done. Now we have the awkward one, because this is lots of little pieces. Right, how many have we got to deal with here? 1, 2. I think I'm going to bunch these so that I'm putting them on in sets. So if we bunch those 3 together, and then that leaves us 3, and bunch those together to go lower down the mount. Right, so we need some moss on the mount to start with. We don't need a great big stick. Right, so moss on the mount. Now this is going to be fiddly because I've got 2 bunches of plants. Now these haven't got much in the way of a root system yet, but I'm hoping that putting some moss over the top of these roots will encourage them to grow and encourage more to grow, because these are in effect kikis. And kikis are young and are good at producing new roots. That's their job, that's what they do. Right, let's get some wire again. Now I could do these in 2 groups, but I'll just do it as one piece of wire. Save a lot of messing about. But I will need quite a bit because I'm working on a long thin mount, or thinner, but it does get fatter at the bottom. So it will need quite a few turns. That should do us. Right, well at the moment I can see that in a minute I'm not going to have enough moss, so I'm just going to put a bit more moss in to soak. Won't need a lot more, but I can see that there's just not enough there, so we just need a few more bits just to make sure we've got enough. I'd rather have too much moss. What I do is, if I've got any left over, I give it a good squeeze, get all the water out of it as dry as I can, and then I just put it back in the bag. I've never had a problem doing that. I've never had it sort of go mouldy or anything, you know. It's right, there we go. That's more than enough now. So, right, where do we start then? 3 plants. So I'm wondering whether I should take the lowest leaf off. I think I will, because it's just going to get in the way. I know it's a large part of the photosynthesis for the plant, but these are going to grow on, so that one will now be able to put the roots directly on the moss. That one, I think I'm going to do the same, take the big leaf off. Now the roots are directly on the moss, and this one, yeah, I'm going to do the same with that one. So snip the big leaf off. Right, so those are our 3 little plants, all with new growths and all with nice roots. So we will just tuck them on like that. Put a bit of moss over the top. Like that. I think that will probably do it. There's a little bit hanging out the side there. So there we go. Get my wire. I think I've got far too much wire this time round. Bit round the back, and all the rest across the front. I want to go over that so that I catch that bit there. background here, preferably not catching my fingers around the back of the mount, and another one to hold that top moss in place. So there we are, that's the first three done. I can let go now. Now we've got the same sort of problem here where we've got leaves lower down. I'm going to take that one off, but I'm not going to take the shoot off that's next to it, because that is a new shoot. And okay, it's coming out at a funny angle, but as long as it pokes up through the moss it should be okay. So that's that one. Same again, I think we'll take the big leaf off. It's a bit manky, that leaf anyway, it's got a few spotty bits. And I'm going to put that one sideways. So we've got grown like that. And then the last one, again we'll take the big leaf off, expose the roots. And that one is going to go upside down. So those three are all at different angles. The idea being that hopefully they will fill the base of that mount, which is wider than the top part. So we just bring a piece of wire around to hopefully hold those in place. Yep. Then we'll get some moss on. Definitely do with 3 hands here, but we'll make do with just the 2. See that little shoot that's sticking out nicely now. So that will form its own little plant. Probably. Maybe. Hopefully. This is all sort of guesswork. It might look like I know what I'm doing, but I've never mounted a Restrepia before. You know, I've mounted loads of orchids, but I haven't mounted Restrepias before. I'm just bringing one more turn round here, mainly to hold the moss in place, because the wire has just run out and it just is there. Right, there's not quite enough to meet. I might just about be able to get those to turn round each other. A little bit short on the wire this time. Can I get that to twist? Yes, just. This time I will need the pliers because there's hardly any there. Just to give it a twist. There we go. Jolly good. Right. Yeah, I'm okay with that. As I said, hopefully these will grow quite rapid roots, and the roots will get through onto the mount, and then we will start getting new shoots as well, so there'll be more leaf growth, and hopefully this will end up like a bush. Right, get our label on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that because it's too long, and then we'll just make a new hook like that. So that's a much more manageable length now. So those are our 3, and I was worried that I haven't got any room really round the top to put any more hanging racks for mounts, and then I thought, what sort of plants are we mounting? Restrepias. Do Restrepias want lots of light? No, they don't. So I'll show you where they're going to go. They're going to go here. I'll get the camera down in a minute, but they're going to go in a relatively shady spot where there's plenty of room and they're not in the way of anything else because they're hanging below an existing shelf. Right, let's get my camera down. And if these do really well, I might mount the rest of them. So I'm just getting the camera off. There, so they're down there. So they're in the shadow of other plants, so they're not in bright light, and they can quite happily live there. I can keep my eye on them. So I've got mounts here that I've just watered, and I forgot that one. I need to do that, and I need to do that because I forgot that one. Come on then, nuisance. Come on. He's had his lunch, now he's been outside, now he'll go to sleep. And I might follow him. Having lunch and going to sleep, I mean. Yeah, so I'm happy with those two down there. That leaves three. That leaves this one at the back that's doing quite well, this one that's not doing very well, and this is the other little one of Hannah's that's not doing bad and does have new growths coming. Yeah, so the one that's at the back that's doing okay is the most recently repotted. Oh, there's a bud on it as well. Jolly good. Yeah, so these all got moved up here so that I can see the birds. And those peonies that I came back with have gone in there because they came from the same place, and the ones from the other person have got their own paper envelope. Paper envelopes work well because if there's the slightest bit of dampness, it's absorbed by the paper and it takes it off the bulbs, so that does work quite well. So yes, so that'll do, a quick little job. As I said, the jobs are thin on the ground this time of year. We don't get much. Emergencies, yes, I'm not sure I've got any of them, although two of these were borderline emergency. If I'd left them in the pots too much longer, I think they'd have been lost, and one may still be lost. That bit of hydration from the moss might do the job, and it might not. The disturbance might finish it off. Anyway, they've got a little place there, and I have more little places like that. I mean, I could get another 2 mounts there. I could get some more along there and some more along there. I don't want to start putting mounts overlapping plants, if you see what I mean. I'm alright for them to hang down low, so low light ones I've got room for. And I might have room for one more of the hanging racks on that pane of glass, maybe, but I'm not going to go mad with mounts. You know, come the warmer weather and everything, they're a lot of extra work, which I can do without. So anyway, that's that little job done for today. Now we will clear up the mess. There's always mess when you're messing with orchids. And thanks for dropping by and all that, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.